Primary election day is Tuesday, June 4th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on June 4th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, June 4th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.
This is a More Than Just podcast production.
Welcome to Spotcast Season 6, Episode 46. My name is Tim Mitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined once again by Jonathan Kuline in Mississauga, Ontario.
Hello there, kids.
And coming in from subspace is Jaime Lopez Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
It's going good. Alrighty. So I guess we'll just dig in with some fact check. The song Everybody's Talking, or Echoes of My Mind, as I called it last week, was actually written by Fred Neil and famously sung by Harry Nilsson. That's probably the one that most people would have heard, but I, as a child, would have watched the Glenn Campbell show, and probably why I misspoke about Glenn Campbell covering that song, because he did. But Everybody's Talking at Me was also the theme from Midnight Cowboy, which is how some people know it. And I was wondering about Time Bandits. By the way, I discovered today that Jonathan bought me an issue number 1 of Time Bandits. Thank you very much for that.
I did. You have the comics adaptation of that.
Really? Okay. I'm still disappointed you only get one. You get one part of the story with each issue. But anyway,
they got to get you coming back to the newsstands.
I guess. But anyway, so I was trying to figure out when I last saw Time Bandits, because I did finally get to see it in the theaters, and I saw it at TIFF in July 2021 when they played Brazil one day and then Time Bandits the next day. And Dark Matter, we talked about Dark Matter last week. The Dark Matter that I officially know of, Dark Matter, is the 2015 to 2017 show. So Jonathan was pretty close to saying 10 years ago. And interestingly, though, if you ever watched The Rookie with, the Nathan Fillion TV show that's been on for 6 or 7 seasons, the one of the rookies, or one of the former rookies, is a character named Lucy, who's played by Melissa O'Neill. And what's surprising about Lucy in The Rookie is she's very, she's like not very sure of herself, and she's always second guessing herself and that kind of stuff. And yet she was a kick-ass female lead. She was like the leader of the crew in Dark Matter. So it's kind of an interesting sort of juxtaposition of her portrayal as a character. So anyways, cool. That's the Dark Matter 2015.
I was going to say, did either of you tune into the Apple TV Plus version?
I did. I'm caught up. I'm, I think, 5 episodes are out now? I think?
5, I think, came out this week.
Yeah.
So
I was going to make a joke in the in the Discovery about the fact that at one point Burnham and Maul were in the corridor.
Yeah.
You'll understand. Anyway, all right. We'll move over to the headlines, and actually, I do have an update on the headlines as well. So I shared a link here that Disney had shared a trailer for the Immersive Vision Pro Marvel story, which came out actually today. I did take it for a spin. It's interesting. It's kind of like, you get to be like Doctor Strange and have the magic, circle thingy come out of your hand and stuff. But what's really interesting, so I played it in my kitchen for a little while, and the Watcher, I think he's called.
Yep.
The Watcher, and who's the Oriental character that is with Doctor Strange? I forgot his name now. Wong, yeah. They both come into your kitchen, and it's interesting. You can get up and you can stand, and they're animated, but you could hand drawn kind of thing, or computer drawn. But you can get up and walk in around your kitchen, and they actually do change shape. They actually are 3D rendered, which is really kind of cool. So yeah. But like I said, there's parts of it's funny, parts of the game are you're completely immersed and you can't see anything in your area. And of course, my dog came over and was concerned and tried to stand up on my chest, and as she does. Anyway, so link here in the story to the Marvel Vision Pro trailer for folks to have a look at.
So how do you have a sense of how long it is? I mean, obviously you haven't done the whole thing yet.
No, and I don't know that I will, but Yeah, a couple of friends who are also in Vision Pro land tried it out. They said it was more like an interactive movie than a game per se, sort of thing. So yeah.
So you're sort of in it, but you're more passive than active.
Yeah, and actually, somebody posted a really bad review of it. Some reviewer said it's not the killer app and whatever. I guess everybody's waiting for the killer app for Vision Pro to come out. But yeah, so it is interactive. You kind of do. You get to make a fist and create a shield and then Wong throws, bolts at you and that kind of stuff. And you have to collect stones. So where'd they get that idea from? Yeah. So yeah, you have to collect the Infinity Stones. That's as far as I've gotten. I've got 2 stones so far. And yeah,
pretty good.
But it's got a whole game interface. Like you can, if you stop it, like you just take off the Vision Pro or go back to the desktop, whatever, it remembers where you ended up, so you get to just unpause it and continue on, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. So it's kind of unfortunately for Marvel, Apple just announced the Apple Design Award finalists, so, and they're not on the list, so they didn't give Apple even a preview copy. So. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'll play it a little bit more and see, but it is full. It's a full experience sort of thing, like as far as Vision Pro goes.
Cool.
Yep. So over to you, John. Clinton.
Yeah, so I saw this one today, and it was kind of an interesting pickup from something we talked about a couple weeks ago. So Viggo Mortensen, who famously played Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Strider, yeah.
Yeah, he was doing an interview with GQ magazine, and he was talking about his latest movie, but obviously there's been a lot of Lord of the Rings Tolkien-esque news lately with the second season of Rings of Power coming later this summer. We've got the movie coming, the War of the Rohirrim, and the announced the Hunt for Gollum movie that's going to be coming to theaters. And he said, actually, if they're interested, I would, be interested in coming back and being Aragorn again, because of course Strider lives a very long life, and they could easily introduce that character now. He's a little older now. He's 65. Yeah. So how they reconcile that? I mean, obviously, if they can have, de-aged characters all over the place in the Marvel universe, I'm sure they could do something with a combination of makeup and special effects to de-age Viggo. But it does raise the question that would it be a good thing or a bad thing to see? Would you rather see the character recast or not included, or would you rather it was actually Viggo playing that part?
Yeah, it's a good question whether it should be recast. I don't know about recast. I don't really care about that. But like what sort of storyline could he be involved in, right? And you said he lives a long time, but I mean, isn't he a man, like of men? Like, isn't he like one of the men people?
He's not technically. He's He is from a race of people who are extremely long-lived.
But he's the king. He's the king in the Return of the King, right?
He is, but they say it, and I know I'm going to make Tolkien fans angry. I cannot remember the name of the term for the people. Dunedain. The Dunedain live like hundreds of years. They are essentially men, but they are extremely long-lived. So they establish in the Lord of the Rings that he's like 150. So yeah, he could have looked, I mean, he wouldn't have looked like he was a 65-year-old man when he was a 45-year-old man making the other ones, but yeah, there's certainly some stuff they could do there, but I don't know. I mean, he basically said, I only want to come back if it was right for the character, which makes sense. I mean, obviously you don't, like, he's got a pretty impeccable record as this character. You don't want to come back and undo any of that, but yeah, it could be good. Jaime, are you into the idea?
Yeah, I think it's fairly reasonable. They've got good makeup, good lighting, good tech, and you can suspend the disbelief for somebody like Bob Odenkirk as Saul, right? And I think it's fine. And then to your point, like, he is like a biblical man kind of thing, right? Where they live for hundreds of years instead of the sub 100 that we tend to know in modern era.
Yeah.
So I'm okay as long as it's fairly reasonable. And I kind of remember the books having the Strider talk about more stuff that happened before he shows up at the is it the Prancing Pony?
Prancing Pony. That's right.
Yeah. So he was out doing stuff, kind of like it's maybe a bad example because people were traumatized by the Hobbit trilogy, but Gandalf was out doing stuff as well, and they showed some of that in the Hobbit movie trilogy, even though it wasn't strictly speaking in the Hobbit of like, hey, what did he do, and go like kick back and have a beer with Saruman and stuff, right? Like they filled in some of that. So I think they could do something like that as long as it's not like trying to stretch out the concept here, and I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
How were people traumatized by The Hobbit? Like the movie?
Because it should have been. It's a children's book, right? Like the first Fellowship of the Ring book from the Lord of the Rings set of books is considerably denser.
Definitely.
It's definitely longer, but it's like also denser, right? It's more adult, or at least more young adult, right? At the very
least. A lot more mythology, a lot more world building. So it's a denser read.
So if you can fit Fellowship of the Ring into a singular movie, like a 3-hour movie, you can absolutely knock out a really good Hobbit in one movie.
Well, there's a Rankin Bass version of the Hobbit that's like, an hour long, I think, if it's that long.
Yeah, I think they probably could have made that into 2 and made it satisfying. 3 was ridiculous, especially when there was so much stuff that was just like thrown in and not necessary.
Yeah. My favorite part of that whole story is the speak friend and enter, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been spoiled by so many other simple things like that, right?
Yep.
Cool.
And the next thing, speaking of dragons and monsters and things, there was a story a little while ago that there was a project to make a Dungeons and Dragons live action series it was supposed to be a Paramount Plus series, and they ordered it. They went straight to series order. That is, instead of just saying make us a pilot and we'll judge it from that, they actually said make them all. So they were going to do this 8 episodes straight to series order. Apparently they have decided they are not moving forward with it at Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. So whether this means that someone didn't like what they had, or they realize it's not going to, perform like they want, so maybe they'll sell it to someone else. But yeah, it's kind of weird to have had such faith in the creators and of the concept that they were like, yeah, just make it. Here's millions of dollars. And then be like, yeah, we're not going to show that on our channel.
So is this based on the Chris Pine movie, the Dungeons and Dragons?
It doesn't seem like it.
I mean, as a follow-up or concept? Or
yeah,
whatever?
there's the story that we've pulled here is from Deadline, and it basically says that it is part of a package. They wanted to do a TV show. They wanted to do that Honor Among Thieves, which is the one you're referring to. And it says they were also going to do a Broadway show, which is apparently on right now. The 20-Sided Tavern is now playing on Broadway. They want to sort of push this out. This is Hasbro, of course. Hasbro owns the rights. Of course, also Transformers, G.I. Joe, lots of other properties that you're familiar with. And yeah, they wanted to sort of build this brand up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of this. But whether or not it's strictly related, or again, the nice thing about D&D is you can have a million stories and a million different offshoots of the same world or different worlds. You can have them cross paths or not cross paths, and you can buy it because it's all swords and sorcery and dragons and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I wonder how much of this is sort of the financial weirdness around this, like, instead of the traditional pilot, put a little bit of money, see if it looks good, great, let's order the full thing, going the opposite direction, whole hog, let's do a full series. Actually, no. I kind of wonder if some of that is tied up in the current uncertain who will be the keeper of the coin, the master of coin for Paramount Plus going forward. They're definitely going to be around. I'm not saying they're not going to be around. It's just, will they be their own private company? Will they be owned and acquired or merged with like Warner Brothers or somebody else? Still unclear. And I wonder if that was sort of the reason for this getting jerked around so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, Jaime. This could all just be business, right? This could be, hey, if we tank this thing like we did, we talked about obviously the the Batwoman movie getting shelved and some of these other projects that got shelved for tax purposes. This could just be, hey, it's actually cheaper for us, or we save our tax dollars by burying this thing. You never know, right?
Yeah, it could be that. And I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking all right, let's do this. We've got money. Oh, whoa, hold on. Baum and Accounting says we need to cut costs by 25%, so it looks better for Wall Street when or if we announce this deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah, but yeah, it could be all of the above, any of the above. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're at the part of the show where we're talking about the final of the series finale of Star Trek Discovery, and this episode is called Life Itself.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Oh wait, I have to come up with a elevator pitch, right?
So you want to go first, or should we wait with you last then?
You guys, I'll go last.
What do you have, Jaime?
Mine was Michael Burnham's, journey comes to an end as she realizes it's turtles all the way down.
Turtles?
Turtles, yeah. Have you heard that phrase? It's like, oh, the world rests on the back of a turtle, and it's like, well, so what is the turtle on? It's like, there's a turtle below that, and a turtle below that, and a turtle below that.
Yeah,
right.
I had life is like a capsule full of progenitor tech. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with I don't have an elevator pitch this week. I have lots of questions, but yeah.
So they decided.
I do want to talk about something first before we get too cool. So, and I heard a snippet about this with Will Wheaton and Jonathan Frakes. Was this episode directed by Jonathan Frakes? I didn't catch that.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so but he directed the previous episode.
He did,
and so they were talking about the AR wall, which we've forgotten about, or I've forgotten about. So this is, I guess, Paramount's version of the volume, which is what the Disney Plus people use for like Mandalorian and stuff like that. But that's how they're able to make this, like, the Dreadnought look so freaking huge, and this world that Burnham and Maul find themselves in, or this sort of corridor that they find themselves in. All done with the VR wall, which is really kind of cool, because even like the things like there were scenes where they're in front of the interface and it's kind of glowing and they've got the puzzle in front of them, and they show the camera's filming up towards Burnham's face, and you can see reflected in her eyes the shape of the thing. Like, I thought it was really kind of cool that they're able to use all this LED technology to kind of light. And then the scene where Booker and Burnham are talking to each other at the beach, and they're lit as if they're in a sunset scene sort of thing. I think it's really kind of cool tech. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that one up, because that was obviously we know that the Discovery show is shot up here. It's actually shot not too far from where you live, Tim, at the studios down by the lake. When they shot that scene, I was immediately like, there's no way that's Lake Ontario. There's absolutely zero chance that isn't
There's
inside.
No floating fish in it. No.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, obviously they added a bunch of stuff in there, but yeah, I looked at it, I was like, there's 100, or 0% chance rather that this was actually shot on location here in this area. Some of the episodes they did, you can, it looks like the forests of the GTA.
Dumpster in the alley in downtown Toronto. Yeah, that's totally.
But I saw that. I was just like, there's no freaking way. There's just absolutely no freaking way. So, so they decided to go supersized for this finale. They didn't have to do the patented Jaime Lopez Hold My Beer finale. They stretched this one out to an hour and 25 minutes, including credits and the probably 3 minutes of previously on, because they had to sort of catch you up on the entire season before they dive into all this.
Right.
I'm not convinced they used that time super well, but
no, they did the whole Lord of the Rings 20 minutes to say goodbye thing at the end, right?
Yeah,
the long journey home as the Saxel Bagginses are, stripping the Discovery for all its parts and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, it was. The first hour or so was, overall a decent landing for a complicated season. Although there is something about the sort of, this whole season was the whole, we gotta, assemble all the parts and get this puzzle pieces together so that we can solve this mystery. Otherwise, the universe will be destroyed. And to have the conclusion of it be, let's just destroy this stuff is also pretty funny.
Mhm.
I found myself thinking about that in the week since we had our last episode, thinking, so why didn't they just, when they got the first piece of they were collecting those little parts that made the cylinder that they used to unlock the capsule that has the progenitor tech in it. When they got the first part, just the first part, why didn't they just disintegrate that? Because then they could have never opened up the thing, and it would I don't know.
Oh, to try and defeat the access to the thing.
If you wanted to basically, if it was becoming a race against time, and the Breen are going to destroy the future, if you're that seriously concerned that this is what's going to damage the future, why not just be cool, let's just erase our memory banks and destroy these actual pieces of this thing that we've got, and then nothing can ever be opened because you need this stuff to do that.
Yeah, but that's the same sort of thing as why didn't in the Terminator movie, why didn't they just go and make sure that what's her name, Sarah Connor's parents never met? I mean, that's a 5-minute movie, right?
And again, I get it's television, but I found myself thinking, especially in the wake of the conclusion to this, where they essentially, Burnham goes in, she has this big, thing with Maul, then she has this whole thing with this progenitor's mind projection, and it all comes together with, I've decided that no one should have this tech, let's just destroy it.
Right.
Then why did we watch your show for 10 episodes?
I mean, that could be true of why we watch any Star Trek show, right? So
yeah.
By the way, I did remember my elevator pitch this week on Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Hugh. Parenthesis Culber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of things that happen in this episode. And to be honest, some of the things that happened this whole season that are sort of Discovery, the series in a nutshell. And I think some of the things you all are bringing up here are they need to really make sure that they have exactly what's going to happen sort of arced out and figure out how to get there together, where some things feel like, and to be clear, I'm aware that they weren't totally sure that this was going to be the final season until fairly late, so they had to sort of capture what they could, right, and make it make sense as a series finale. I think that's part of the the extra 20 minutes, hold my beer, oh never mind, it was just a false alarm, you don't need to hold my beer. I think that the writers try to manufacture too much drama rather than coming up with things where drama will naturally happen. And that's not to say they do it, totally out of left field all the time. I think some of the drama I did enjoy was fully sensible. Like my two quotes from Action Saru, right? Yep. My species are predators, and I've studied you like prey. That's great. That's great for his story arc of being like a cowardly, I'm so scared of everything guy at the beginning of the show, to now where he's an ambassador and he's like, I understand that, I am stronger and I'm going to face down this Breen Primarch, right? And there's other quotes, right? Look into my eyes and tell me if you see even the slightest glimmer of doubt. He doesn't rant, he doesn't rave, he's just very strong and powerful there. I think that's great drama, right? It's great drama of hey, is Saru going to be actively a part of this show? Is he going to actually be able to contribute here, or is this going to be a failure? What's going to happen? What's less effective is stuff like, I think we might have mentioned this when you were out, Jonathan, of what's the deal with the Red Directive? So is it the most important thing or not? Oh, well, first, Prime Directive is Prime Directive doesn't matter. You go in there and you pew, pew, pew the heck out of these village people and you get what you need to get. That's the thing, right? Oh, well, Maul and Locke would treat them no, you throw them into brig, you throw them out an airlock, you do whatever you have to because Red Directive, right? But the Red Directive does come up again here in this episode. I'm sure we'll get there. But early on, I think, was purely to manufacture drama. Oh, the mystery. What is this thing? What's so dangerous that they can't be told? I'm like, that's stupid. Just tell them, here's this thing. It's super dangerous. Destroy it if you have to. Kill everybody if you have to. Sacrifice yourself if you have to. do not let this world-ending, galaxy-ending, life-ending technology get out there. That would make more sense. But that doesn't fit the way that they like having these little, puzzle boxes, pun sort of intended here, setups for Discovery. So I think that's one of the things that didn't really gel for me here. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, let's go for it, right? This is your final one. You're kind of in senioritis. If there's a lot of people graduating from college, graduating from high school. It's like, fine, just whatever. You get a passing grade on that one. Just get out of here and graduate and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely excellent point. I think they built the drama up pretty early that this was, an all or nothing high stakes kind of thing, but it really did kind of fizzle as it went on, especially because they set the Breen up to be this like mega powerful enemy. And we know, I think we talked about it in previous episodes, like, the scale of the ships, the mighty warriors, this warrior culture and the whole thing. And then they kind of fizzled in the last couple episodes. Like Maul takes out the Primarch of the one ship. Saru basically, growls and the other one backs down. It's, again, a lot of steak and very little sizzle.
Yeah, I think part of what ends up being problematic for this season is I never really felt all that compelled by the Locke and Maul story, especially because they were fairly one note, Maul in particular, right? And so I know here they end up trying to set up maybe she can come back. Like, and guess what, story runners, producers, nobody cares about Maul. Yep. Never show this character again. Yep. Right? They accidentally exploded in the shuttle that was taking them to prison.
I have to go back to my own planet now.
Yeah. Like the way that they try to force Book to be important to the story. Didn't pan out here, and I wonder if part of that is because they had to sort of change the latter half of the season, where Book probably was going to have I'm going to talk you back from the brink, talk you from the back of the ledge sort of thing. Otherwise, he wasted a lot of time and opportunity this season that doesn't pay off at all. Yeah, right. It's that's like my family. It's like okay, I just assumed he was going to be the one to talk her back. No, it's sort of Michael who doesn't commit to it, right? Michael turns on Maul kind of poorly. It's like you needed to grab, not kick her, you need to shove her off into like tornado land or something so she can't get back. You don't have to kill her, you just toss her into like a desert and let nature take its course kind of thing. And for that, I feel like, well, then what was all the stuff with Book's story this season probably should have been more tied to Michael's. And they do, to their credit, do that. It just felt like you didn't need to shove him into the story along the way with, he's tied to Maul because, her parent is his mentor and it's the same name. It's like, why do I need to care, though? It didn't pay off.
No,
right? Like, that was wasted time that could have been recaptured to make this a regular 1 hour episode if you didn't want to make it a 2 hour, right?
Yeah. I can't recall which one of you, I think maybe it was you, Tim, had the theory that she was pregnant.
Yeah.
I thought for sure in that final scene with Book when she was lying on the table, sort of recovering from being zapped
the
by the
alien would pop out of her chest and run across the room.
No, I just thought for sure because she was lying there, kind of looking serene, and Book was sort of making nicey nice with her, and I was waiting for the doctor to come over and be like, "Well, the good news is you're going to be okay, and by the way, you're going to have Locke's baby." I 100% thought that's where that was going, and it did not pay off either. So again, they built this whole maybe the tech can bring Locke back, maybe their love story, and then it's just like, nah, it actually can't do that. Like, okay, that was a lot of build up for nothing. Like, and if Maul was like this deeply in love and, like she was on the verge of either murdering someone or crying for a good number of episodes after he got killed, it just felt like, again, a much ado about nothing. It just sort of was like, our love is undying. And so essentially what happened is Locke killed himself to set her free. She didn't actually get free. Mm-hmm. And then she carried around his transporter dead body for a while, but in the end, nothing can happen with. Like, it just, I don't know. Again, lots of buildup for no delivery.
Yeah, the first question I had when Michael Burnham goes into the thing properly, right, is Maul should be lying there, and so should Locke, right? But they kind of disappeared, and that's when I kind of thought, well, okay, so what happened to those guys? Obviously, she's gone into another realm or whatever, right? But yeah, you're right. I mean, the whole resurrecting Locke was kind of anticlimactic, but then when the progenitor tells her the tech isn't set up for that, right, kind of thing, and then I think Maul kind of gave up on that theory too easily, right?
Yeah.
When she comes out of the haze and tells her, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my other take. It's like, if you've been setting up that Maul is one note, just fully committed to this mission that gets slightly modified when Locke dies, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to use the tech myself. I'm like, we're not going to sell it in the happily ever after. I'm going to use it to bring him back for the dead. Maul absolutely needs to die somehow related to the tech, right? I thought they were going to do it when she, tries to figure out the triangle puzzle and gets it wrong. I was like, oh, she's going to die there, right? In her hubris in thinking that she could figure this out without having all the pieces together. Yeah. Or that Michael...
It should have been like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of like the arrows come out of the wall and take her out, right?
Like the Ark of the Covenant kind of ending, right? Yep. Like that would make sense. Or I could see a slight variation where Michael comes back and says, hey, you can't bring him back. I just talked to the progenitors. That's not how it works. And Maul, again, one note says, screw you. I don't believe you. I'm going to use this. And then dies. Right. Like having her alive, again, producers, if you listen to our fine show, thank you. But also, I saved you a bunch of money. Do not cast this person in the same role. Maybe they're fine as another character, put some loaf on their face. They could be the next Jeffrey Combs. I don't know. But this character, Maul, needs to be gone forever. Nobody cares about Maul.
This is, I think, the most heated I think I've ever heard Jaime get on their almost 200 episodes of this. I don't think I've ever heard you hate on a character this much.
It's so wild because they just teased us so hard. And I'm like, maybe this story needed to be the Breen are trying to get this tech. The Breen know what this tech does, or they figured out what it does. And it's a race to beat the Breen for this tech, right? Because this wasn't really Michael's enemy, right? It wasn't a foe for Michael per se. Maul is, for many reasons we just talked about, way more closely aligned intentionally with Book, right? It's kind of more like Book's antagonist than anything else. So I'm like, you could have cut a whole bunch of this by having Locke and Maul could even still exist, but they could just be a means to an end that the Breen send out, right? Yeah. I think that probably works cleaner and better if you weren't going to go down the path of super happy ending, right? That Michael saves the day, they destroy the tech, but hey, guess what? I'll do you a solid. I'll bring Locke back from the dead. All right, I could accept that. Anything else is Maul has to die. Somehow has to die related to her ending mission. Or even has to just sort of end it herself and knowing that, like, oh, God, he can't come back. Like, then I'm done, right? Pew pew myself. Oops. Michael didn't realize she still had a gun there. Oh, okay. Michael feels really bad. You've learned something. Move on. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to spend all this time on this one-note character that doesn't pay off in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like, I think maybe it's one of those like, we like the smell of our own farts kind of scenarios where, maybe she was a pleasure to work with. Maybe she's just super likable and they were like, oh, we were going to kill her off, but we actually really like her. Maybe we'll bring her back for another series. It's possible she could show up in the Starfleet Academy series.
Well, Kovich is going to give her a job. He already said that, right?
Well, exactly, right? So you never know how that can play out in a future series. And, even though that character didn't resonate for us, maybe they thought it was the bee's knees. And they're like, oh, this smells great. Like, no, it doesn't actually smell great.
Yeah, I was thinking, I did make a note of all the bridge crew and stuff like that. And we'll give them some credit since the show's over. But I felt like as I'm watching the episode and Rayner's got the helm and he's talking to all these starship, the lieutenant commanders who are running the ship at the moment while Book's off, or Burnham's off doing her thing, and Saru is teasing the Breen. I felt a little bit like watching, what was that? Justice League guy show that we were talking about, Rebel Moon, right? Like, I don't feel invested in these characters. I don't care if they live or die. I mean, like, they're just here for the season, and they could be red shirts for all that they really matter to the thing. No, I mean, no offense to the actors who are playing the role, but like, why, again, contract issues? Who knows what the reason was why they outfitted the bridge with a new crew, even bringing Linus out of the elevator and putting him up on the bridge, right?
Yeah. And it's a great point, Tim. I wonder if that was, if you're gonna go to that direction where you realize, like, oh, we can't get the actors who play Detmer and Owo to come in and be their regular roles, we're gonna have to backfill them. Well, then wouldn't that behoove you as a writing staff to say, okay, so that we're gonna bring on some new characters, maybe let's give them some real time where we can actually invest in them, and then put their lives at risk so that you actually care, as opposed to being like, I don't care about you, who are you people?
Yeah.
If
what was the name of that ship in Deep Space Nine that they came up with in like the later seasons?
The Defiant.
The Defiant, yeah. So why didn't they just get the Defiant out of mothballs and put Burnham and Book and maybe Tilly and Culber, like, and just have them go off on a mission, sort of thing for the season, rather than pretend this was Star Trek. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I do have questions, but we'll get into those. Yeah,
let's jump on our pew pew pew. I thought the fight scene that they did with Burnham and Maul, that sort of anti-gravity, clearly done with wires or inside the studio thing, I thought that was pretty effective. I thought that was actually a pretty good. I mean, I thought it was stupid that the reason why they were fighting was pretty stupid. I wrote down in my notes, "Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal." Like, it just, it's such a joke, right? Like,
so yeah. My question is this: like Burnham started the fight.
Yep, she sure did.
Like, and then she's like, she took out Maul's feet, like, or slew fitter, right?
Yep.
So that was one of my big questions for this episode. Is like, what was that about? Because they were cooperative. They were skipping down the yellow brick road together, sort of thing, right? But,
yeah.
But no.
That's why I'm telling you.
It did remind me a little bit of the Phantom Menace, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn fight,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I feel like it didn't make sense for Michael Burnham to betray at that point. And if you're going to go down the betrayal route, do it right, where she tosses Maul into one of the portals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Maul comes back. Hey, I figured out how to get out. Oh, drama. And then, Maul dies, as we discussed. But, like, I don't understand the, like, well, let me just, tickle her elbow. It's like, what are you doing? Grab her and shove her into, like, the 3 feet over to the side and do that. Like, why would you just... I don't understand, again, what the writers were thinking there. What was that? How was that going to work? That's a manufactured drama point rather than, hey, this is something that's actually going to come up naturally and organically in this situation we put people into.
Yeah.
For my best pew pew pew, the saucer separation technique. Not only seeing a saucer separation, as it feels like it's been forever since we've seen one from any series, but also using it as let's go fling these people out over into the galactic barrier. They'll live. It'll just take them a bunch of years. They'll Voyager their way home, right?
I was going to say that falls in. There was a couple of tropes, and that was one of the tropes that I've been pointing out the tropes this year. We didn't have a saucer section, so let's have one. It's like on the checklist, right? So how do we solve all of our problems in Star Trek? We have a saucer section, or we drive the Enterprise into the planet, or something like that, right? But,
yeah. They definitely, they definitely have they kind of struggled through some of this stuff. I liked that moment when they were like, hey, well, theoretically we could do this. Yeah, theoretically we could do this. Although you have to, like, I find the contrivance of Star Trek frustrating sometimes. They always joke that, like, we create a problem and then we gobbledy science out of it. Where they have made up science, so therefore they can make up the rules of what their science can do. And they use a lot of big words and then it's fixed. Mm-hmm. All those people, none of them figured that they could transport another vehicle through time and space doing that. Like, not ever before. That was just in that moment. They were like, well, I guess we could totally do that. Like, that never occurred to them before. I don't know.
No, and or even separating the two sections of the ship to sort of, like, have the thing in between. That's I guess it also throws me back to the time when Kirk and Spock have dilithium crystals injected into their bloodstream so that the ship can find them with the scanners, and they get stuck in jail, and so they use a light bulb and a piece of metal from the bed frame to make a phaser.
As you do.
As you do. It's exactly the same principle. They put, the two pieces together with the dilithium crystals in the middle, and the little light bulb is the source, and
sure.
presto chango, you have a phaser, and you can blow up the lock and escape the prison.
Yeah. Tim, did you have any other different pew-pew you liked?
No, I think Jaime reminded me that was, I think that was probably the coolest thing was when they made the Dreadnought disappear, sort of thing.
Yeah. I look forward to the Voyager Breen spinoff where, the Breen crew is trapped that far away, their captain's been killed. They're like, what's going on? All of a sudden the ship flew into our cargo hold, and next thing you know, we're 10 years travel away from home, and yeah.
But I'm also reminding me too, when you're speaking of tech, that the visors that the Breen wear, right? They remind me of the Vision Pro, right? Like the thing is, like, I'm wondering who's going to come up with the Iron Man / Breen, helmet heads-up display that you see right in front of you and gives you all your readings and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because they always show a reverse shot of like Tony Stark, or in this case Burnham, and you can sort of see the menus and stuff flying, beside her face, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. When we get to the Easter eggs...
But I do have one more question about the helmet.
Oh, bring it. Yeah.
Okay, so Burnham is wearing a Breen trooper outfit when she first lands in this world, right?
Yeah.
And she accidentally falls into the little pit that's got the hurricane winds and the driving rain, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't she put her Breen helmet on?
So I can't remember. Did the helmets just sort of they disapparate into your uniform, right?
Yeah, and just kind of like materializes with the that, the programmable matter thing like that. They just push a button and they appear over their heads, right? But I mean, it's the same thing as my biggest problem with shooting movies in winter scenes in Canada, right, is that nobody wears a scarf and a hat when they're outside because you can't see the actor's face.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the same reason. You couldn't see that it was Michael Burnham if she was wearing the Breen helmet, right? Sort of thing. I guess that's the only reason I can think of to do that, right? Yeah. So that's another Star Trek conceit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Weather doesn't affect them really.
Well, and yeah, again, you're right. Like she wakes up and she's, I can't see, and she's, the rain is driving, and you're right. She could have just pressed the button and been like, oh, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah, I can breathe again. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair point. Okay. Easter eggs. So this one was it sort of started a little slow, and then it just kind of went off the rails. There was a ton of them. So we actually get Culber utters the line, I know I'm not a doctor. I know I'm a doctor, not a physicist. Right. Which, I mean, God, that's like the number one. Like, it may as well have said "live long and prosper." Like that was it's right there.
Well, it goes back to McCoy and damn it, Jim. And he didn't say damn it, Jim.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But still a classic.
Yeah.
And then we really hit the gold mine when we get to the scene with Burnham and Kovich, right? Mm-hmm. Where we kind of get the final, piece of the puzzle as to who he is and where he's from. And she sort of casts her eyes across his collection, which we'd never really gotten a close look at before. And we see just like a treasure trove of history. There's a very dusty bottle of Chateau Picard on the shelf. We see Geordi's visor from TNG. We saw Sisko's baseball sitting in a stand, the one that sat on his desk.
How do we know it was Sisko's baseball? But just assume it was because
it's so unlikely that it wouldn't be, right? Like, why have it's even in the same stand that he used to keep on his desk, right?
Sure.
And
to Tim's point, though, there were people being funny online saying maybe that was Odo in the shape of Sisko's baseball.
I love it.
Yeah, they didn't show the bucket in the corner. Yeah,
that would have been great if one of those things was just a bucket with full stuff in it. And then the big reveal there that Kovich had a different name from the past. He was Agent Daniels. Of course, Agent Daniels was a recurring character as part of the Temporal Wars in Enterprise, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I've got the link in here, so if you want to deep dive that, dear listeners, there's a whole dive into all the different ways that this character appeared way back on the original Enterprise, not the 1960s Enterprise, but the Enterprise with Jonathan Archer as the captain.
Yeah, the what was the name of the name just slipped out of my head. The first characters that they had that were the enemy guides, but who were like the temporal bad guys, right? But
the Suliban?
They missed an opportunity.
Suliban,
sorry.
yeah.
Suliban, yeah. Thank you. They missed an opportunity though, because as soon as he said, as soon as he, look at this guy, he's an old dude. Who's he going to be? Right? They could have gone right back to an original series character who was Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein. The guy who made the robot thing that Kirk falls in love with, the robot woman who didn't know she was a robot. That dude, that alien guy or that person who looked like a human being had actually been alive for like 2,000 years. Right? It could have been the same guy. Is what I'm saying. I would have bought that.
Yeah.
Just Daniels was busy. He was always busy, running around temporarily saving things.
Well, and dying repeatedly and then coming back again. That was kind of a running gag, too. They're like, didn't you die? He's like, well, sort of.
Yeah. I just went through another time portal.
It does make you wonder if Agent Daniels is going to reappear in that Section 31 movie with Michelle Yeoh that they're working on. Because that seems like an easy one to do.
Yeah.
And
except who's going to play him, though?
I don't know. Does Cronenberg have any kids?
See? Is he going to be old? Is he going to be young?
Well, that's the thing. Is you can basically do it any way you want. The other one that was a nice callback was when near the end of the episode when Burnham asks Book about the World Tree root, and we knew that was going to come back around because that was one of the last surviving things from his planet, and we weren't sure if he had it, and we weren't sure what was going to happen, and of course it turns out that he did have it, and he took it to the same planet that he took that giant creature that was from season 3.
Right.
Molly, right? So we get a call back to Molly. We get a call back to that planet, Sanctuary Planet, and then
so that was the red foliage was supposed to be his original planet.
Yes, and then clearly at the end of the episode, when we flash forward to the future and we see an older Burnham and an older Book and meet their son. That's supposed to be on the Sanctuary world, which has taken on aspects of his home world. Yeah. So. Again.
So there was one more trope that we kind of didn't talk about, and it happens right in the middle of the episode where the captain of the series that we're watching becomes the only possible person who could be the steward of this thing, right? Which harkens back to Sisko being the emissary, right?
Yep. I honestly thought for a second there that's what they were going to do, is because she was like, "Oh, you'll be the one to choose," and then I was waiting for them to be like, "Well, y'all just have to stay here forever," and I was like, "Oh, here we go." Like,
yeah. But speaking of the scene at the beach, which we talked about earlier, right? I was thinking about a new situation comedy spinoff for Star Trek.
Yeah, which I mind.
You and Me and Grudge.
Yeah, that sounds sitcom-y, very sitcom-y.
Yep. And I do have another big question. Vulcans don't kiss. They do the 2-finger rubbing against each other sort of thing, right?
So, to be clear, she's not Vulcan, right? She is...
Oh, Romulan or something?
She is from the unified planet that comes later when the Romulans and the Vulcans get back together. So she's actually... theoretically not even biracial. She's an evolutionary, generations removed Vulcan,
because we're way in the
Romulan
future. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah,
hybrid.
Reinvent science.
She's not completely Vulcan in that she's not completely removed from her emotions. She does at times smile. She's just not quite as emotive as, for example, a human being or a Breen or insert any number of thousands of species. But yeah, she's strictly speaking not just a Vulcan.
Okay.
So I think that gives them latitude. Any other Easter eggs for either of you guys?
I don't know if this counts as an Easter egg or if it's more of a trope. So pattern buffering folks of Scotty and Mbenga's daughter, and just throw Locke in there as well. So
and Scotty, yeah.
Well, and ask yourself if what you're dying from in we'll just say any time from the 24th or 25th century on, if you're dying from anything other than a phaser wound to the forehead, and even that, don't you think maybe there would be a way that you should just be like, okay, our default is just to put them in a pattern buffer because later on we can save them?
Yeah, I also like the idea that the progenitor tells Burnham that, yeah, we can clone them, but they won't be the same person. They won't have the same experiences and stuff, right? Which is the answer she comes back and tells them all, no, we can't do it, right? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like you said, doesn't anybody have to die in the future? That's a good question.
Well, again, especially if you know that option is on the table, right? If you know, hey, I've got, so let's circle back here. So Star Trek V, one of the worst movies ever made. Star Trek V, we get the scene where when Spock's brother is trying to trying to break Bones, he basically shows him the scene of like when he had to basically pull the plug on his dad because his dad had this terminal disease, and then he finds out not that long after that there was a cure for the disease. I'm like, well, why don't you just stick him in the pattern buffer?
I'm a doctor, not a scientist.
Yeah, like where was Scotty to be like, hey, I have an idea?
Yeah. Well, they weren't on speaking terms back then, I guess.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it does feel like that would make it a whole lot more. You would eliminate drama if people did this, right? It's like, oh no, grandma's not doing too good. All right, just put her in the pattern buffer. I'll deal with it when I get back from my vacation. Or we'll leave her in there for a while.
Doesn't it just bring a whole new definition to the timeout for your children too?
Yeah.
You've been bad. Get in the buffer.
So I do have two semi sort of tropey Easter eggs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's one big Easter egg at the end, which you didn't talk about. But the Picard tuck, I don't know if it's the Picard tuck or or Patrick Stewart tuck, but Burnham does it before she sits down.
Okay.
And then the last one is the mention of craft.
Yes, that's a great one. You're right. I actually had that in my notes, but I didn't put it in here. Yes. A very I think we talked about it in a previous episode of being alluded to, but this was like crystal clear reference to the fact that we're tying into that Short Treks episode where Zora and Craft meet, right?
Yeah, and it was almost a bit like
Brace yourself for something fuel nominal. Unleaded 88 is the clear fuel choice. It's cheaper, cleaner, and greener. And it's grown by Iowa corn farmers. Now that's totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88.
As humans, we're naturally driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. When I was looking to hire someone, it was so slow and overwhelming. I wish I had used Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With everything you have on your plate, earning your degree online seems impossible. But at Grand Canyon University, we specialize in helping you fit a master's degree in education into your busy day. Your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. Achieve your goals with a plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
Is it? I think it's the second 2010. The remake of the Space Odyssey, where the Doctor is shutting down the computer, and the computer says, "Will I dream?" It's almost like because she has that conversation with Zora about, you're gonna go off and we're gonna park you in this lot for 20 years and put a blanket over you, and so you won't get rusty and stuff. But we'll just park you out there in the middle of nowhere for forever because we have this loose end that we have to. This is a Harmy's checklist, right? We have this loose end where we have the ship parked off in the middle of nowhere for eons.
So this is another one that I was a little stumped by when and I'm glad you brought it back around, Tim. Okay, so Zora is more than just a computer on a starship. She's essentially a sentient AI. And we established that throughout, that she has her own sort of autonomy and she has her own existence. She is her own creature. So doesn't it seem like kind of messed up and a little weird that they're just like, go float off into space. You'll be alone for hundreds of years. Enjoy yourself. Like, that seems like kind of cruel and unusual punishment for what is essentially a sentient creature. Like, I don't know. That seemed a little messed up to me.
It's
it was odd, especially since they had that space port where they collect all the old Enterprises and stuff, right? All the
you mean where Oo and Detmer were like sitting there with their feet up for the whole season?
Yeah, the museum, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't Discovery go there to retire, right?
Yeah
And play with the other spaceships and stuff.
I was kind of wondering because a lot of folks online said, hey, wait a minute, how does the short trek Calypso work? Discovery, the ship, needs to end up way isolated in the future, but it's in its pre-time jump to the 31st, 32nd? I forget where we're at.
They're in the 32nd. Yeah.
Configuration. Like it still has nacelles that are connected, for example. It doesn't say Discovery A. And they tried to stick the landing here, right? I was kind of wondering, are they going to go back and redo the exterior shots of Discovery in the in the short trek? And they said, no, we're going to
grind off the symbols.
They can get that production company that did the original series over again. They can get them to do it, right?
Yeah,
get a contract going.
Here, it seems to be Kovich said, hey, guess what? For timey-wimey reasons, we have to, undo the glow up, but put your hair back in a bun, put those glasses back on.
Yeah, the collector wants the original issue, so we have to restore it back to its original condition.
Yeah. And then in my head canon, to square the sort of circle here with like, hey, it's a sentient creature, Kovich also told Zora, hey, we need you to do this thing. Zora's like, I don't know if I want to do it. And he's like, hey, red directive. Right, because it's like the get out of jail free card, and it's like, oh, okay, he convinced Zora to do this thing. So it's not cruelty in any sort of way if you follow that line.
She accepted the mission.
She accepted the mission, possibly under false pretenses. It's really unclear because we don't know the timey-wimey reasons. But there you go.
Yeah. Okay, some quotes. This one made me laugh. Engineering, find a way for Booker not to get irradiated to death. I thought that was an excellent Rayner line. Only Rayner could do that. We talked about this one. I know I'm a doctor, not a physicist. Just trust me, from Culber.
It was more like the delivery is different because it was, I know I'm a doctor, not a physicist. Just trust me. Yeah. He paused on the I know.
Yeah. Oh no. Absolutely not. Maybe. That was Tilly's response to could we use the Discovery to transport a dreadnought through time and space?
Yeah.
Burnham, why do I get the feeling Action Saru came out today? Anytime there's a reference to Action Saru, love it. And Rayner, did you just call me crabby?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of schmaltzy quotes in there too, but I ran out of patience. I started writing them down and was just like, ugh, this is just too much.
Well, there was one, hello, gravity.
Yeah.
I like that one. And then at one point she did say we found it, or somebody said that we found it.
Yeah.
And tractor beam lock failure.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Tractor beam lock failure. Yeah.
That's a new one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but it was the computer saying that one.
Yeah. Okay, I have a few questions, but I'm going to start with this one. If Burnham shows up and her goal is to get to the progenitor tech before Breen and Breen do and Maul does, why would she even bother giving her dermal regenerator to Maul and not let her just bleed out at least to the point where she passes out, and then fix her up, hog tie her, and get everything done?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to hog tie her after the fight, for sure.
Yeah. Apparently, you can like make anything just matter appear in your hand. Your gun, your whatever tools you need, your tricorder, all the stuff just appears now. But however, you can't do that when you need like a set of handcuffs or something.
Sure. Or night ties. Just need night ties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did Detmer and OO's wedding invites get lost in subspace? Because they clearly weren't there for that. But somehow we're back for the final weird, like we're all hugging each other part.
Yeah, the huggy part. Yeah.
Which strange, very strange.
Yeah, do you think they filmed that before they?
I wonder, or they just like brought their uniforms to the cast closing party and invited them back. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, and the contacts, because I noticed that Detmer was wearing her blue contact as well, right?
Yeah.
I did have a big question. Where did it go? I asked the one already about why didn't she put the green helmet on in the Rain boss level, right? But so I have a question. Can we not from now on call Siri computer?
Much cooler if you could.
Saying, hey Siri, yeah. Instead of saying hey, or Alexa or Google, just say hey computer. Computer do this, computer do that.
Love it.
Yeah, because everybody has a personal computer now. Burnham obviously demonstrated that, right?
Well, you can get Siri to call you anything you want too, right? You can have her respond to you.
But I can't call her what I want.
I know. I'm just saying, if you could say, "Hey, computer," and have it respond with "Yes, Captain Kirk," like, wouldn't that just be like I'd never need anything else ever?
Well, they're coming out with utterances in the new version of Siri because of accessibility and stuff like that. But I mean, my biggest complaint about all of these devices, and we have all three of them in the house, right? I know we don't have Cortana, so Windows is out. But we have Google, we have Alexa, and we have Siri, right? And so with Alexa and Google, we only listen to one radio station, right? And every day for like the last 4 years, we've been arguing with these devices about just play the damn radio station already, right? And in fact, but now I've got Alexa and Google trained that I can just say play radio, and they go, oh, you want to play this, the station you always listen to, and then they happily play it for me. Siri, on the other hand, sorry, I just woke up Siri. Go away, Siri. But she constantly makes the wrong call, or it's just I walk into the kitchen a lot, and Alexa's playing the radio because Carol's given up on Siri,
Yeah.
Anyway, so we need to be able to just say computer and then have something play the radio station, right?
Yep. Any other big questions from you, Jaime?
I don't have one for the series, but I do wonder why everybody who retires from Starfleet almost always retires in a non-tech life. They're like farming, they're vineyarding, they're living in a cabin in a really nice area. Like there isn't anybody who's like, living the city life, going out into the clubs, going at the dance clubs. They don't show that. It's always like, I'm tired of science. I'm tired of tech. I'm going to go put my hands in dirt.
Yeah.
Is that like a thing?
It's a fair point. Although I guess it's one of those things when you almost die for a living all the time, maybe that's what you need. Is to like not think, hey, the world's going to collapse around my ears, or I, you don't want to hear any more explosions or fire or pyrotechnics. By the way, is it my imagination, or did they just really blow their fire budget on this episode? It felt like everything was on fire.
Yeah. I was thinking a lot of that.
The bridge was on fire. The planet was on fire at one point inside the Progenitor's tech. Like there was so much fire in this episode. I was just like, wow, like. Did they just bring in a guy just for extra fire for this episode?
Well, we have a family member who does that for a living.
Does he do the fire too? I thought he was just working the light boards.
He does he does pyrotechnics and stuff. I saw him blow up Alice Cooper once, or supervise it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. Okay, so the two, I guess, biggest questions are, now that we've reached the end of Discovery Season 5, and now that we've reached the end of Discovery writ large, what are your overall takeaways from Season 5? And then let's talk big picture. This podcast was started by you two geniuses for the purpose of talking about Star Trek Discovery and all the nerdy stuff that we all love. Thank you for bringing me on board and letting me play in this sandbox with you for the last 6 years. It's been an amazingly fun time. I want to know, now that we've gone on this ride together for the last 6 years, whether you think this was a good, bad, or indifferent thing.
I mean, for me, like, I think the podcast evolved, and like a lot of podcasts do, right? I think we evolved into becoming a Star Trek podcast because of great shows like Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, right? Thankfully, because my overall review of Discovery, I mean, from a technical point of view, from the look and feel, it's like 4 stars, right? But like in terms of where I place this in terms of my favorite Star Treks, it's not. It's in the middle of the pack, right?
Better than Star Trek 5?
Well, Star Trek 5 doesn't count. That's a different story. But I mean, there are parts of Star Trek 5 I liked. I think it had a good beginning. It just kind of got weird there in the middle, right? But direction was obviously weird. But
what does God need like, with a starship?
Yeah. But yeah, that's just bad writing. But but you know what I mean? The whole Cybok, the desert part, the people, or the Romulan and the Klingon and the human and the whatever living, existing together on the outskirts away from, they're like on Tatooine for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no government here, like, and there's 3, they kind of were getting along together kind of thing, right? With their Romulan ale and stuff. But anyway, I digress. I mean, like in terms of like, I put Enterprise above this. Let's put it that way, right? Like in terms of like, I've always liked Enterprise, but I would sit down and watch episodes of Enterprise, and I have. But I don't know if I would sit down and watch any episodes of this. I mean, some of them were good. I mean, I got to say that this was a good, tidy ending to the story. Because I did like certain parts. I like to sort of wrap up with Booker and Burnham and their son, Captain Leto. I like that sort of part, where they had the gray hair and all that kind of stuff, and that was kind of neat. And the Zora send off, that was good. But yeah, I mean, some of it was just tiring. I mean, and like Jaime and I talked to Mark, on our third host on More Than Just Code. I think he gave up after season 1. Like he just thought it was so bad, right?
Well, and some people, I mean, Jaime, I think you made reference to it earlier in the episode. This is a pretty divisive show. Some people really don't like it because it's quote unquote not Trek, in that it's not quite as effervescently positive. It does have its rough edges. There's swearing. It's more violent. And that really rankled some longtime Trek fans. But there are other people who, really kind of took to the sort of little more realistic kind of take on this.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't bother me, but just some of the, like you sort of said, some of the conceited parts are, a little hard to take. Like, I mean, in the first episode of this series, I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to have a leader character go to jail, that never happens in the real world at any point in time, does it?
Let's not be political here. Come on.
Yeah.
Pull back.
So, but she was on her way, like the girl in Rogue One. She was on her way to the. She was being in a prison transported. Somebody broke her out, and next thing you know, like 3 seasons later, she's the captain of the ship. It's kind of. I guess anybody can run for captain of the ship. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody a little disappointed that we never got another take on Lorca? Like, Lorca was such a great villain.
Yeah. Or even Michelle Yeoh's character, right?
I mean, I guess they kind of brought her back and redeemed her in a bit. But yeah, I just feel like somewhere in here, surely in the last couple seasons, they could have found a way to have that, even just for a cameo for an episode or something.
He didn't even get an invite to the wedding.
I know. What's up with that?
Yeah, what do you think? What's your feel about the whole series, Jaime?
Yeah, I will work backwards from this episode, right? So this extra length episode that avoids the hold my beer moment and going maybe just a bit too long. I think you have to cut a bunch of stuff out of the rest of the season, as I mentioned before, to make this fit in a 1 hour. But I think they, outside universe, the producers here, I think they learned a lot about what they didn't get quite right with where Star Trek Discovery was as a premise, right? So starting from where we are now, I'm like, okay, so they did learn to bring in more of the crew stuff. So even though I also do not care about, Detmer number 2 and OO number 3. Discovery always suffered from that. They tried to incorporate more of that, and I think they couldn't move the entire thing and just completely make it an ensemble based cast. They couldn't make it a 24 episode season where like, oh, Raynor gets a cat, kind of thing. Like they couldn't do that. They had to sort of adjust and refine what they had. And I think they learned from things like Voyager's ending of the series that ends like Voyager needed the 20 extra minutes that Discovery got here, right? Like Discovery really didn't need it that much. Voyager clearly did. It's like, oh, they got home. Great. What about the Maquis? What about this lady who's like a Borg? What about, you straight up murdered Tuvix? Like, there's all of these questions that are just out there that Voyager just chooses not to answer in the show. And people had the backlash of that. Like, you couldn't give us 15 more minutes. We wanted to see what happened. Yeah. Here, they went not just here's what happened, but like, here's what happened decades later, which, I think it's fine because they stuck with, what they had and then learned and adjusted. Starting for the very first season, I think the challenge, the bold bet that they made that didn't quite hit the mark, but wasn't a disaster, right? Like, I don't think we can call it a disaster. This led to other series like Picard and Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds spinning off from here, and it revitalized the moribund Star Trek, as television. And even to some degree, movies property, and brought it back to the forefront. I think it was very valuable there to try moving the line, realizing maybe we shouldn't have made the show about not only not the captain, but is fully like from the POV of this one character, Michael Burnham. Right, this is the only show that does that so hard, and I think we collectively have enjoyed here on the show. Hey, they learned from that and they did Strange New Worlds and said, no, it's an ensemble cast, right? It's not fully episodic and it's not fully story arc. It's somewhere in between. Discovery would have felt absolutely bizarre if they completely changed it to not be fully serialized. They pulled a little bit back here and there. Like, here's a little bit of the monster of the day, the puzzle of the week sort of stuff. But I don't think you could have completely changed it without it feeling like, why isn't this a totally brand new show? Why is this called Discovery? Right. So it sort of is what it is. I do agree. It's probably kind of middle of the pack in terms of overall, looking back over 5 seasons enjoyment. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it along the way. That's not to say I didn't have quibbles clearly documented on this show along the way. And I think its importance is because it was the standard bearer to bring things back, to reinvigorate Star Trek as a property.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jaime. I think that Discovery, I agree with Tim that Discovery is certainly not the best that Star Trek can be, but in the same way that there were rough spots at times during the sort of revival of Doctor Who, I'm glad they revived Doctor Who. I'm glad they revived Battlestar Galactica. I'm glad they revived Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I love so much about it. I love that it envisions a future wherein we kind of get our stuff together and can actually make a life for ourselves beyond the petty squabbles of our world. I like the optimism. I like the idea that we as a species can do better. And I think that Discovery has a lot of those moments, and Burnham's arc is that too, of, she's kind of a mess. And then she starts to get her stuff together, and then she's fine. I hope we all turn out so well. But as much as I have my quibbles with Discovery, I will always be happy with the fact that it gave us lots of fun stories. It gave us lots to talk about. It brought Trek back into our lives again on TV every week. And then it spun off into Strange New Worlds, and it spun off into Lower Decks, and then we got Picard, and now we're getting Section 31, and we got Prodigy, and we're going to get, Trek's back on the map in a way that is in really fun and exciting again. And yeah, am I going to be going back next week and watching seasons 1 through 5 of Discovery? No. But I'm sure at some point down the road, I'll sit down and, now that it's a complete body of work, I'll go down and do a sort of, season by season, see what I think again. I've gone back and watched the first few seasons a couple times before we come back into our seasons. I haven't gone back for a couple of years now. But yeah, there's a lot to like there. There's some really cool character arcs. There's some really moving moments. There's some terrific performances. We've barely talked about Doug Jones and Saru and his arc through into this episode. We talked about a little bit, just his, Jaime, I love the way you described his going from prey to predator arc. But he was amazing, like absolutely amazing in this part. Like it is, the culmination of a lifetime for a guy who's been in Oscar-winning movies and has been the face behind the face for so many other things. Like there's so much to like about Discovery that you don't have to like all of it, and you can still find lots to like. I'm glad that we got it, and if you don't like every minute of it, that's fine. You know what there is now? There's almost 1,000 episodes of Star Trek across the last 60 years. Go find something else.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I was kind of like is it, and I really liked what Kevin Feige did with the Marvel universe, is that there was almost a plan. It's almost like, I think either he did plan it, or it ended up being that he planned it, that would go all the way to Endgame kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We never came back to a Burnham being Spock's stepsister and all that kind of stuff, and all those kind of weird things that they started the show with, right? So they kind of got lost in the shuffle, right? Yeah, for sure. There was definitely a lot of good and some not so good, and no show is perfect. I enjoyed the first season of Strange New Worlds. I thought it was good, but season 2 was amazing. You just never know when things are going to hit their strides. Yeah. And I think we did have Ethan Peck in season 2 or season 3 of this, right?
Season 2. Season 2 was the crossover with the Enterprise, setting up the season that basically set them up. But yeah, and again, like obviously there was that whole, how are we going to explain that there was the Sporter? How are we going to explain that Spock had a sister? And then of course there's the whole, because they had to have all their records deleted so that they could never be found, and okay, cool. But and again, I struggle with prequels. There are some great ones. We talked about some of the great ones. We talked about Strange New Worlds. We talked about, House of the Dragon. There's lots of great prequels. There's also a lot of terrible prequels. I think I didn't like this show as much as a prequel as I did as a sequel, even though I don't think some of the seasons of where they were in the far-flung future, the 32nd century, were great. I'm glad we were there. Like, for me, Star Trek's at its best when it's moving forward, not backwards. Like, I like what's next. I like that in Picard, the 3 seasons of Picard we got a little bit more past what we saw in TNG. We've seen a little bit of that from Lower Decks. And I like here that, we saw that obviously the Federation and the Starfleet were kind of a mess after the burn and stuff like that. But again, they got their act together, they got it moving again, and things are moving forward again. I like that we're seeing like where we could go, or again, a view of an optimistic future for the human race and other races.
Cool. All right. Should we talk about Doctor Who?
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. So 73 Yards, season 1, episode 5 is probably my favorite Doctor Who episode ever.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I mean, I really like again, I always like those timey-wimey sort of puzzles, right? That kind of, where somebody gets trapped she gets trapped in a time bubble, basically, right? And it happened before. I mean, but another set of episodes that were really kind of cool were from the Matt Smith Doctor Who, where James Corden plays his roommate, and they're living in a house together, right? Or he comes to visit him, and none of the other companions are with the Doctor, right? It's just James Corden and the Doctor, and there's 2 episodes. I think one's called The Lodger, and I think the other one's called Closing Time or Up All Night. Anyway, I can't really get the names, the TARDIS sphere or whatever you call it, TARDIS Wikipedia thing. He's not quite accurate, but or it is, but but apparently he only appeared in 2 episodes. But yeah, I really like this Ruby episode where she gets, the Doctor makes a mistake and she makes a mistake, and then she gets stuck in this thing where she has to solve this problem of 73 yards, right? This woman keeps following her, and she's 73 yards away from her all constantly, right? And yet, anytime somebody goes and she convinces someone to go talk to them, it's kind of cool. And I like the way that the people in the pub tease her about, pay with your phone. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
As if she's like, I mean, from their perspective, she's just somebody in their timeline, right? And she's thinking she just got off the TARDIS. She has no idea if these people don't even know what tap to pay is, right? So, but yeah, I liked it a lot. And what did you guys think of it?
I'll talk in universe and out of universe. So I also very heavily enjoyed this. I wasn't sure if it was full of Doctor Who tropes because I'm not as familiar. Like I couldn't line them up. I did really enjoy seeing the way that a singular character, a companion in this case, can just carry the entire episode.
Yeah,
and do it quite well. Like it felt pretty natural. Like, hey, here's progression. See about getting the Doctor, and then it's like, you know what, the Doctor's gone. I don't know what the heck happened to him. I'm just gonna live my life, go on with things. Recognize, oh, this random factoid that he told me about the Prime Minister from a couple decades from now. I think this is what I'm meant to do. And the sort of solid way in which Ruby solves the problem is pretty interesting. It doesn't go into the details of like how the heck did her like end of life ghost end up doing this sort of thing. What exactly was being said to those people to scare them away? Because it really doesn't matter for the drama. It works really well, really brilliantly. The interesting thing for me was reading about this outside of universe that apparently there are just some episodes that they're only going to have one of the characters versus the other as a way to sort of split the timing of like, all right, this is your episode, Ruby. We're just going to shoot this episode. Meanwhile, the other crew is doing an episode where she doesn't appear and only the Doctor appears. Mm-hmm. And it's some sort of like weird budgetary or scheduling kind of savings. So that's kind of interesting there. So there's a lot there for me. So I enjoyed it. In this, I say this as an American, and I'm watching this very British show. I'm like, so you're telling me for the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister that nearly kills everyone with nuclear arms is from Wales? I looked it up. I was like, list of prime ministers of the United Kingdom by birthplace. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of England in there. There's a Scotland here and there. There's a Republic of Ireland. There's a guy who was born in Manchester but grew up in Wales. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
you had to beat up. That's punching down on Wales.
Yeah.
definitely, absolutely, categorically was coming from England if that was going to happen. But I digress. I don't know if I didn't hear anybody online complaining about it, so maybe it just stuck out to me as an outsider.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have family in Wales, actually. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. I thought this was a really good episode. I disagree with you, Tim. I think Blink is still my all-time favorite episode of...
Which one's Blink?
The Weeping Angels. The very first Weeping Angels episode with the DVDs cool. And the time travel and that. So Jaime, for you, that's the 10th episode of the rebooted Doctor Who from 2004. So the first season of David Tennant. Starring a very young Carey Mulligan, who would go on to become multi-time Oscar-nominated actor. That for me, it was the high water mark because it was just so absolutely terrifying and yet also incredibly compelling. I just thought that was an absolute banger of an episode. But this, I
don't mean it's my best episode ever. It's definitely one of my best.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I thought that as you say, like when you remove the Doctor from the equation, it's always interesting to see what the companions are like on their own, especially when we have a new companion in this case, right? Like we don't know her terribly well yet, so getting a really good time to sort of focus on her was kind of interesting. I think the thing that bothered me about this episode was it didn't, and maybe you guys can correct me, it didn't seem to resolve what it was that the future version was saying that was making people so mad or livid or to the point where they wouldn't talk to her? Like, what was she saying?
I don't know.
They never resolved that.
But I don't think they have to. That's what I like about it.
But it doesn't make sense. Like, it's something that is so scary or upsetting or something that, like, her own mother, her friends, like, no one will even speak to her ever again.
Yeah. Including the division lady, who's supposed to be like super, the Redgrave woman who's supposed to be.
Like, what? So what is that? And, like, I just felt like there was a real hole there that I did not find I think it was probably partway through. I thought, well, I wonder if this is her future self, because that's why we can't see her. It would make sense if that was it, unless it was her mom, because they keep coming back to her like real mom and stuff like that. I thought, well, maybe it's her real mom, but then
maybe she is a real mom.
What's that?
Maybe she is her real mom.
I mean, who knows at this point? I'm sure we'll get it together at some point this season. But yeah, I just kind of struggled a little bit with, okay, so what she's trying to do is essentially, she's inside this time loop. She's trying to sort of bring herself back around. Is she just?
We don't know she's in a time loop at that point, though, right?
No, we don't. But again, is what she's saying to them like, "Oh, you have to let me, whatever." But like, it doesn't make sense because she has the same reaction with people she knows and people she doesn't know. So I don't know. I just found that part a little unfleshed out. I would have liked to have known, like, if she's supposed to be this thing that's so terrifying that people run screaming down the streets, why?
Yeah, but I also like the fact they don't reveal that.
Yeah.
The fact that it's going to bother you for the rest of your life, right?
It is 100%. It is. And I want to know what was in the briefcase and Pulp Fiction. And I don't like unresolved mysteries. That's never going to sit well with me.
Yeah. Did you ever see the episode of Black Mirror where the young guy, somebody sends him a message on his computer, and then they send him into the woods, and he has to have like a gun duel with somebody, and all these people get sent into the woods, and they all have this mission where they have to like just do this really despicable, murder somebody in cold blood kind of thing, and they all refuse to do it, right? But it turns out that the end of it is the kid had child porn on his computer. So it's kind of like, how you get these emails all the time saying, I saw what you did on your computer, blah blah. By the way, they're all scams. But in this particular case, like, you don't know until the very end of the episode that, like, for all intents and purposes, this kid was doing the most vile thing that anybody could do on a computer, right? Sort of thing, right? And that's kind of what it was to me, is like, because even when Division and all the the black op cars and the guys in the heavy armor or whatever, they run away from whatever she's saying, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like, there's something that manifestation of herself. And actually, when people get close to her, they say she's fuzzy and blurry, and she looks like you're looking at her from 75 yards away, right? She's not like the person that's standing there hand signaling to her, right? And actually, what I don't know, did you guys ever check online anywhere if anybody's trying to decipher what the hand signals meant? Because I kind of thought she was doing a American Sign Language kind of thing, right? I didn't check it out, but
I feel like that's for next week's follow-up episode.
Maybe, but I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like I like the fact that they don't reveal that. I think that adds tension to the show, right?
Yeah, it just, for me, what struck me in watching it was just, if you're going to have people have that visceral reaction, there has to be something there. And if we now know that it's her, what could she say that would produce that kind of visceral reaction? That's the part that's it just does. It seems incongruent. It seems like it shouldn't make sense that way. Unless she says, you have to run screaming that way and you can never speak to me again because I'm on a timey-wimey mission here and it won't work unless you do this. I don't know. Again, it just didn't quite grab me that way. But I really liked to focus on her, and I thought, good performance. Although the part where she was just like going through guys like, Candy was pretty funny. It was just like, it's not you, it's me. Bye now.
Yeah, I think maybe they're going to be doing something with like her being, special powers of some sort. I mean, they never explain in this episode like how exactly she was able to do the things she was able to do as an old lady at the end of her life. But they've also shown her affecting the snow and having some tie into that. So maybe it's one of those longer story arcs. I don't know if it's typical for those to be resolved within one season of Doctor Who, or if it's this might be, the tail end of her like 2 or 3 season companionship or something. But I do feel like they're building to something like that. So it might feel dissatisfying within this episode, but I wonder if they're going to address it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's that larger mystery of like who her mom is and how she came to be and all that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this does sort of wrap around.
So I do have some live follow-up.
Ooh, here we go.
Okay. So, by the way, Russell T. Davis, who is the showrunner for this, says this is one of the best episodes he's ever done. So there you go.
And he actually did that other episode.
And he says they're not revealing what she said because he leaves it up to Jonathan Couline's imagination. Right? But the hand signals went along the lines of, bless you, thank you very much. That's so kind of you. When you gave me that little thing when she does a circular hand motion, it was just so precious, hands to heart, and how am I ever going to repay you? And then the last one is, but we'll think of something. Those were apparently that's what she was gesturing, or that's what she was saying from the distance, right?
Well, that's clear as mud.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right.
Oh, interesting. Oh, one more thing. A little Easter egg in that one. Apparently, at 25 minutes, 24 seconds, you can pause the show, and there's a QR code, which will take you to the Doctor Who website. Yeah, also, I did notice there was no title sequence in this one, too. But this is the first episode of Doctor Who to start without a title sequence.
Yeah, because they showed it right at the end, right?
Since 2019.
Yeah. Cool. Well, another good one. Let's hope that they have more bangers like this and less Space Babies.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But that's the funny thing about Doctor Who is you get an episode that's kind of like this, which is like really well, I think, done. And then you have like the one where he's standing on a landmine for the whole show, and then another one where they're talking to space babies or other things like that, right? So it's a mixed bag of weirdness. Doctor Who.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our watch list then, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go first because I got a couple of things. One is I'm curious. Jaime, have you ever seen the movie Bananas?
No, I have no idea what you're.
It's a Woody Allen movie, I believe, right, Jonathan?
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because on the last 3 or 4 episodes, you said, that's bananas. And every time you say that, I think of the movie Bananas. Although, he means it's crazy, but, whatever. And I have been watching The Offer, or started watching The Offer as well. That was a Jaime recommendation from back in the day. Because now that we have Paramount Plus here in Canada, I can watch The Offer, which is the making of, from, I think, 2012, the making of, or not 2012, 2022, a long time ago, months ago. The making of The Godfather, right? With the whole mafia environment, or not mafia. Can't say the mafia, can't say the M word in the movie. But their involvement and how they tried to block it and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. Really interesting sort of tension. And Juno, the actress Juno from Ted Lasso's in it with an American accent.
Yeah, Juno Temple, yeah.
Yeah, done really well.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I got around to watching the 6-episode limited series of Knuckles on Paramount Plus. So this is the Knuckles, the Echidna character from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie series, portrayed by Idris Elba, who I'd have to say he plays it very, very straight. Like that's like his character is all about being a warrior and glory, and just continues with that, never sort of breaking. And the other character is Wade, who is kind of like a schlub, wants to be something more as a like a sheriff's deputy. And I think it fits pretty well. Like it is fairly family friendly, as the Sonic stuff tends to be. So it's not super serious. They do a pretty good job here with keeping things working in that same sort of vein. It's pretty easy breezy, half-hour episodes, 6 of them. So it's like a longer movie if you just binge them. And you can prepare yourselves for, what did we say? It was Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog coming out in the new movie. Yep. So we just have to see who else are they going to get as a animated woodland creature.
I don't know. They've got 2 of the most famous handsome men in Hollywood with Idris and Keanu who else is Ryan Gosling? Is that where we're going next? Is Ryan Gosling got a part?
They're gonna have to dig deep into like the weirdo characters. Like he's gonna have to be like Big the cat, and
yeah,
and you're gonna have to get like Vin Diesel to be the frog that hangs out with Big the cat.
I think he's up to that part. He could probably manage that. Yeah. My number one pick this week. I don't know if you guys saw this one today. I meant to pop it on the Slack channel that we and invitations to all those out there, and thanks to everyone who plays with us on our Slack channel. But I don't know if you guys saw this one today, but they've revealed the popcorn bucket that they're making specially for the Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine movie. It came out today. Ryan Reynolds posted this on his social media, and Marvel did later on everything else. It is one of the filthiest things I've ever seen in the little trailer to promote it. It is basically Wolverine, and this is, of course, in response to the hilarious Dune sandworm popcorn bucket we saw earlier this year that people were saying looked vaguely sexual and inappropriate. So deliberately doing those things, the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket is simply Wolverine's face, so Hugh Jackman's face with the Wolverine mask on, his mouth hugely agape, and you reach inside his mouth to pull the popcorn out. You're essentially putting your fist in his mouth. And in the trailer that was released by Ryan Reynolds, at one point they're pulling the popcorn out of his mouth, and then melted butter pours down his face. It's absolutely obscene and so funny. I highly recommend checking out this trailer. We will put up on the Slack channel, and you can find it in the show notes. It is super, super funny that they decided that they needed to top the sandworm and decided to go this route.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, like the sandworm, we went, what did we go, like 2-3 days after Dune 2 came out to look for that, and they said they sold out of them in the first, 20 minutes of the first night. Were completely sold out, so, wow. Yeah. So, we'll see if these ones are at all available at any point, or if all the collectors will zoom in and buy 6 of them, and that'll be that. I'm sure if you want one, you can find one on eBay next week next July or August when this comes out. And just low price of $100 a piece. 2 other things coming up. So Tim, you and I, and number one fan are going to go see Furiosa tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We'll report back on that one next time we meet. So I'm looking forward to seeing the latest in the sort of Mad Max expanded universe. It looks like it's going to blow up good, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, we're only a few days away from the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, the new Star Wars series premiering on Disney Plus. We've talked about some of the longer trailers that are coming out. There's lots of little snippets going out. It's good. There's an interview with Dave Filoni and Leslie Headland, who's the showrunner, that made the rounds today, and it looks like a really interesting. It's sort of a murder mystery, Rise of the Sith storyline set during the High Republic era of 100 years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So, we'll know the world, but we won't necessarily know any of the players or sort of the circumstances. So it's a neat part of the universe that we really haven't explored in live action like this yet. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And I think maybe we'll talk about whether that's the next thing you're going to hear about here on Spotcast.
Cool. Yeah, I think it probably will be. That's pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for another week. And Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you, where would they find you?
You can find me on X or on Instagram. It's at JPK News, or you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/@JPK.
So does JPK News work on Threads?
There is a JPK News on Threads. However, I am not active on there yet because I have not been active on any of my socials for a while. So,
all right. And Jaime, if people want to get in touch with you, where would they find you?
I'm on Twitter as @DevOfTheHair.
All right. And like in the 32nd century, he'll still be on Twitter as Dev with Hair.
I think I saw that on the shelf behind Kovic.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And my name is Simitra, TIMMITRA, on the Twitter machine, on the thread machine, which is, I guess, a loom, on the all the other things, Yeah, that's pretty much how you'll find me. Mastodon as well. And so until next time, we'll see you in the future, I guess. Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Spockcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spockcast website at spockcast.com. You can get in touch with us on the website or follow us on Twitter at Spockcast. If you have feedback or questions, send us a tweet with the hashtag AskSpockcast. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/Spockcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spockcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Do I have to watch the previous Mad Max Fury Road before this one? Because this is a prequel, right?
It is. I mean, what do you need to know? Furiosa was from this tribe of women. She got taken away. She lost an arm in the movie Fury Road.
Is it the same character that Tina Turner played?
No. This was all just created for the last movie.
Oh, the last go round?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to have to work very hard.
Tom Hardy's not in it though, right?
No, not that I know of.
I did hear, spoilers for those of you who don't want to hear this, but I did hear that they have a younger actress, and then they have Taylor Joy or whatever her name is, and they morph the character through the first part of the movie.
Oh yeah, so that it looks more like
so the kid ages into her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she was on one of the late night shows talking about that. Yeah, that should be cool to look for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad. It was actually just kind of on a whim that Logan and I went and saw the Fury Road movie in the theater, and because he's a bigger Mad Max fan.
You mean?
What's that?
Back in the day?
Yeah, like 10 years ago, whatever it was when it came out. Yeah. He just he called me one night and was just like, hey, I want to go see this movie. I'm a Mad Max fan. I'm not a Mad Max fan. I never really cared for those movies. He's like, but it looks really cool. We should go. I'm like, sure, let's go. So we just went on a whim and saw like a 10 o'clock show one night, and I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. So it was the first time I was like, oh, I really like this. I must admit, I know that I might get roasted for it, but I never really cared for the first three. I thought they were actually quite terrible.
Well, the very first one is just awful, but it's almost like Clerks in terms of like
the first one is almost unwatchable. Like it makes very little coherent sense. It is just a mess.
Like a student film, or
it really does feel like that. Like it feels like somebody did it with their handy cam. Like it's not good. But I didn't really care for the other two either. They never really did anything for me. But I really enjoyed Fury Road and
Thunderdome.
Yeah, Beyond Thunderdome. Yeah. And again, speaking of like,
I still want to know where they get the gas from if the entire civilization is gone. Or they're all EVs now or something.
No, I mean, they established that there's basically like, that the people who are the most powerful are the ones who basically can create one of three things: food, fuel, or bullets. Those are like the three sort of pillars of society. If you control one of those things, you are like basically a lord.
Is that is that the series where they try to find the guy who makes the bullets, the bullet maker? Or am I thinking of maybe it's The Walking Dead?
Oh, in The Walking Dead, they have a whole arc about trying to, they set the guy up so that he can make bullets because they're like running out of bullets. And
and he says he can do it even though he's lying through his teeth. Yeah, he survives till the very end, eh?
Does he? Oh, I mean, I read the comic book character, but I gave up on the TV show when it turned into murder porn over and over and over again.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
and apparently their new shows are on, but I've not seen any of them yet.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Walking Dead since I think it was season 7 or something of Walking Dead, where I was like, I just can't do this to myself.
I watched the last season. It was not worth watching.
Yeah, exactly. So next week we've got Acolyte comes out on 2 episodes on Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, we can do Acolyte and Doctor Who.
Yeah, we've got Acolyte and Doctor Who, and then a couple weeks after that, mid-June, we get House of the Dragon and The Boys. So we've got enough to cover us for into the summer if we want.
Sure.
And we still don't have a start date for Lower Decks, but they typically have been starting in like late August, so we might have enough to carry us forward for a while still if we want to.
Yeah, the Ready Room with Will Wheaton made it. They didn't say a date, but they did make it sound like it wouldn't be too long before they would be back. So yeah, I think that probably pencils out with around an August-ish timeframe for Lower Decks.
Yeah, I mean that's when they've been dropping them for the first 4 seasons is mid-August. So I figured somewhere in that window we would get that. But as I say, if we've got Doctor Who still ongoing and we're enjoying talking about that, we've got Acolyte starting next week, and then a couple weeks from now we'll have House of the Dragon to mix in for our conversations, and we'll have The Boys to do. That's plenty of stuff to keep us chit-chatting for a while. Who needs that Star Trek anyways? It'll be interesting to see once Lower Decks drops and is over, the Section 31 movie, they said it's being shot, but they haven't said when that's coming out. We know we're not getting Strange New Worlds till next year. And at some point in some mysterious future, they're going to drop Prodigy Season 2 on Netflix here. And then we could watch that and talk about that. But yeah, it's a little all over the place.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.
That's the sound of your current hype level at the gas pump. But brace yourself for something fuel-nominal, because Unleaded 88 is about to take the hype to a whole new level. Unleaded 88 is cheaper, cleaner, and greener than regular unleaded. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, brought to you by Iowa Corn.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.